After a summer break, we're back in the studio with Karl Boyes, Emily Frazer and myself, Nick Teale, for November's Off the Rail. Welcome along to Off the Rail with just 3 weeks to go until the Mosconi Cup hits Ali Pali. We're here to whet your appetite for what is the event of the season. Matchroom MD Emily Frazer is with me and the European Vice-Captain Karl Boyes. And Karl, let's start with you and talk about that team you've got, because of course yourself as Vice, Alex Lely as Captain and Albin Alshan top of the rankings. What a season he's had. Josh Filler, Jason Shaw, Eklen Kachi and David Al-Kadi completing the team. That is an enviable five.
Yeah, I mean, obviously over the years with everyone on social media and everyone sort of knows Europe's always strong, and it's no different this year. And of course USA have got it all to do.
They really have after last year's 11-3 defeat. But Emily, the big difference this year, the fans are back. We're really excited for that, and also to see not just how the Americans react to that, but how the players like Jason Shaw, we see how pumped he gets. He was MVP without that last year. There's all those question marks again for this year, but having the fans back is going to be so special, isn't it?
It seems like forever ago since we were doing it behind closed doors in Coventry, and it was such a strange setting. I think the press conference drawn in so many viewers just because there was this need for Pool and this demand to see the Mosconi Cup players. So it's just going to be fantastic to have these the players back in Alexandra Palace with the crowd just in and around them, a packed out arena, sold out. I don't doubt it's going to be sold out. And it's just the atmosphere of the Mosconi Cup. It's everyone's event, and you either pick to go to the darts or you go to the Mosconi at Ali Pali, and trying to get everyone to get their fancy dress on. And leading up to Christmas, we're a little bit later, starting off in December from the 7th. And so you get into the Christmas party mode. And we're trying to create this atmosphere where people go to the Mosconi, you don't feel like you have to sit there and be quiet. And I think I was talking to a friend about it and said, yeah, you can come along because you don't have to sit there and not open your mouth. You can talk to your friend about a shot that's happening. And that's the atmosphere we're trying to create with this event. I'm so excited to see these fans back, and it's just the build-up leading up to it. The press conference is going to be something different. Oh yeah, it gives me goosebumps.
And of course, getting the fans back in and hearing those chants again, I'm sure we'll be hearing Boise Wonderland come December, Karl. But let's have a chat about your team, because it's a little while since we've spoken to you. And first of all, the two automatic picks. David Al-Kadi's had a very consistent season, but Albin Alshan, what a year he's had. Championship League winner, goes and wins the World Championship. And if there were any lingering question marks about him, some people might fire that he'd not won something in America. I'm not sure really why that's relevant, but he's gone and done that as well with the international.
Yeah, he's an awesome player, and he's very calm, and he's the type of player you want on your team, because like obviously when you've got Joshua and Jason where they're so like pumped up and energetic, you need somebody like Albin, and even Kachi, for instance. They're very calming and they're very relaxed. What a season he's had. There's been a lot of pool. Obviously you guys have brought new tournaments and really going for it with the pool, and he stepped up to the plate, and he's definitely been the man of the year.
So talk us through your conversation with Alex about the wild cards, because there's probably half a dozen to a dozen players who genuinely would believe they should be on the team and would have a really strong case. So how do you pick just three? Yeah,
I mean, obviously it's so tough, because if you look at the likes of like Max Lechner, Fedor Gorst, we didn't pick them. They were so close in making it. Obviously Fedor was, a former world 9-ball champion. He's still a young man, and he played his first event last year with no crowd, which was a bit of a shame, because yeah, he's played in the Mosconi, but as we all know, when the crowd's there, it's an out-of-body experience. And it's always been said you could pick 3 or 4 teams from Europe, so it is obviously very tough for the captains to pick, but we just feel like with the experience and the crowd, Kachi, he got his pick, and it's just, where do you go with it? Obviously Jason Shaw was awesome last year, and obviously Joshua Filler. It's a good thing for us, we've got so many players we can pick from.
So come on, let's get your thoughts on Team USA, because their lineup, of course, Skylar Woodward and Shane Van Boning with the automatic picks, and then the wild cards have gone to the return of Tyler Steyer. Chris Reinhold stays in from last year, and then probably the big surprise was Earl the Pearl Strickland's back. I know you've had a few encounters with Earl at the Mosconi Cup before. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I remember seeing it on social media, and I thought it was like a joke post. Like you see a lot of these pool fans, they post like a joke thing, don't they? So I didn't really take anything of it, and then when I looked, Matchroom Pool have shared this, what's going on here? Like, so then I just thought, at first I was a little bit shocked, and then when when it sank in and I thought about it, I thought, well, Shane's vice captain, so I think that's his pick. I think obviously Shane knows how good Earl plays. Obviously he's 60-year-old, but he still plays great. So obviously I'm sure they've had a chat between themselves. Maybe they can get Earl a table in his room out of the way or something and all this. I don't know what's going to go on, but you know, can a leopard change his spots? I don't know.
But Emily, from a promoter's point of view for the event, Earl being back is such a big draw.
Oh, wow, it's just, I mean, we saw how it got shared on social media. Everyone's pumped about it, whether you love him or you hate him. Everyone's excited to tune into the Mosconi Cup to watch Earl Strickland. It went down really well, and I think he's going to be the curveball for Team Europe. And it's just how he is, and there's no doubt about it. Earl is a fantastic player. You just don't know how he's going to turn up to the table. But whether that's good or bad, it's still a curveball for Team Europe. And I don't care what you say. If the likes of an Earl Strickland was sitting in that chair, or it was, and no disrespect to any other player, a Jeremy Sosi, for instance, if those two players were sat there and you've got Kachi walking down into that arena in Ali Pali, and he's looking at that chair and he's looking at Jeremy Sosi and he's going, 5-0, here we go. Piece of meat right here.
What's up with Jeremy?
Huh?
What's up with Jeremy?
No, I'm using Jeremy as an example. But you put Earl in that chair, he's sitting there thinking, Kachi's coming down going, right, okay, I don't know about this. And then you've got the crowd piping in and Earl, has a conversation with the crowd. It's different. There is going to be nerves out there.
I've been in that chair. I know it's different, and obviously, me and Alex have spoke about this, and Emily's right. He's got that enigma. He's one of the greatest, if not the greatest player of all time, and to get in the Mosconi at 60, that is unbelievable. And he still plays strong, but we all know how he acts and how he behaves, and I'm sure USA have got a plan to try and round that off and do something. That's going to be the big thing, but. When whoever gets to play early in the singles, they're going to come down and they will be buzzing. Emily's right, no disrespect to any other players, but I was lucky enough to play early in the singles. I was the last singles and America picked him, and I thought this is great because, playing in the Mosconi Cup's quite rare because there's only 5 players in each team, but to actually play early in the singles, that's like one of the moments I look back on and think, yeah, that was pretty awesome. So someone's going to get that chance, and even though I'm involved in the event, I can't wait to watch Earl and see what goes on.
What's the difference with from Team Europe a couple of years back? You've always been involved, Karl, so it's good from an outside perspective. When we go back to Las Vegas in 2019, USA obviously won, and the year before USA won. Europe still had a group of players to choose from. So you can, like what you said, you still have 2 or 3 teams that you can make from the European players. It's always been the same that USA is hard to pick for the Mosconi Cup, and that's obviously part of our plans for moving forward, that there's a better structure for Team USA for the Mosconi Cup. But what's changed from 2019 Mosconi Cup from Team Europe, because it's always still been the same players that you get to choose from. Now moving into the last year and now this year, what's changed?
Captains are good. No, I mean, at the end of the day, obviously, so it's a funny one because when you play a match, it's a race to 5, there's a lot of pressure on you. Obviously, last year there was no crowd. The first day you could tell no one really knew what was going on. The play was really bad from both sides of the teams. But, the Mosconi Cup is all about holding yourself together. Earl Strickland at 60 years of age is going to hold himself together better than a lot of the young players that might get a chance to play in the Mosconi Cup because he's a better player, he's got experience. Experience is everything, and I think you can see that from our picks. Unfortunately, Fedor, as I've already said, missed out. He has played in the Mosconi Cup, but he hasn't played with the fans. And Max Lechner, who, he was right there, he could have got in the team, but he's not played. And when you're a captain, you need experience. And I think Shane stood up, and I do believe Shane is the one who's picked Earl because why was Earl not playing last year when Jeremy was captain? And I think he said, listen, out of everyone we've got, obviously they've got Chris and Tyler, 2 young guys again. I think actually overall, I think they've selected it right in my eyes. Earl was a bit of a curveball, but now on reflection, I think it's a good team, I do.
Will you guys make a plan for Earl at all to try and get in his head?
No, just because...
Nick, don't give them ideas.
Well, yeah, I wasn't going to actually, Nick, but actually, yeah. No, I mean,
I'm just thinking Jason Shaw v Earl Strickland could be one of those classic matches.
Listen, I'm sure Jason will have something up his sleeve. You know, it's all tongue in cheek. It's a bit of fun, and you know, I've had my fair share of battles with Earl over the years. But away from the table, he's all right. The biggest pressure is going to be on you guys, not us, because you got to make sure the table's right and the practice room and this. Otherwise, everyone's getting stick.
Well, don't worry about us, Karl. We've got that covered. You know us. Well, we've had some reaction from Team Europe. Let's hear from Team USA now. Matt Lynch has been speaking to their captain, Jeremy Jones.
JJ, it's great to speak to you ahead of the Mosconi Cup. Just under 1 month to go now. How are you feeling? How have you been?
Feel good. Had a long trip, going to Ohio and then on to Virginia to watch a lot of pool, do a little work, and of course make the final selections for the Mosconi Cup. So a little more stress-free about some things, but also kind of like moving one plate to the side, bringing another plate in. But feel good, feel real good.
How is the mood within the camp now you've picked all of those players? Everyone's sort of looking forward to getting going and getting to London and getting cracking?
Yeah, I mean, you know, a little more protocol this year, just like last year, of course, with everything going on. But the guys are in a good place. Last year, we didn't have any tournaments. This year, I think we had two and a half months of maybe the best string of tournaments we've ever had in the U.S. as far as big events and great competition. So, you know, that put them in a good place to get started. Of course, the one difference this year is wasn't really different than last year, but just maybe more of a focal point is being as prepared as possible. You know, that's probably the main thing.
From that team that you've selected, what can we expect of it? There seems to be a really fine blend between a lot of experience, but also plenty of youth and exuberance as well. Obviously, Tyler's coming into that team, hasn't actually lost a Mosconi Cup from 2 experiences. Chris had his first bite of it last year. And Shake made a good account of themselves, all things considered. And obviously, someone like Earl with a vast amount of experience joining Skylar and Shane on that team.
Yeah, it's a great mix. You've got a couple of young guys, Tyler, like you said, that has experienced some great things in the Mosconi. I'm actually kind of thankful that he's experienced some rough things as well. I think that's the way you get better and not, you know, just kind of look at those wins and say, I've done it, which I'm not too worried about Tyler in that regard anyways. He's a guy that prepares a lot. The mix is great. Every guy, you know, Shane, of course, we all know Shane. Earl is kind of his hero. We've all known that for a long time. But all the other guys are so excited to play a Mosconi Cup with Earl. And I think it was a little bit of a shock to them, of course. You know, it was a lot of shock to a lot of people when Earl got picked, but they realize it's about winning points. You know, me and Shane try and do a lot of things for pool, and we're always here for the guys. But when it comes down to it, our job description is to win the cup. So, you know, we feel like Earl's going to get us some points. Excuse me.
Jeremy Jones there giving us the American perspective on the Mosconi Cup, and Karl, JJ talks there about the lineups and the team selections. Is that something yourself and Alex have spoken about yet? Do you know roughly what your lineup's going to be?
Yeah, he's put his penciled team sheet across, and I've done the same, and then that's our basis, and then when we get there we'll have a little sit down, a cup of coffee and go through it again. So
what sort of factors are you considering when you're picking those teams?
Just looking at who's in form, really, who's the sort of, I mean, when I say in form, I don't mean like, obviously anyone can go there and they can win points, it's one of them, but obviously, for instance, like Albin's had such a good year, so he's obviously feeling good at the pool table, isn't he? So you've got to try and utilise that, just things like that. I
mean, they're all in form for you, aren't they? They've just had a European champion as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is the beauty of Team Europe. Obviously, they travel all over the world, they go to all the majors, they go to America a lot, and, you know, they are seasoned professionals.
They are indeed, and the Mosconi Cup is December 7th to 10th at Alexandra Palace. There are some tickets still available at mosconicup.com, so get your hands on them before they're gone. It is the big event to end the year, and what a year it's been, Emily. The biggest year Matchroom Pool have ever had, 6 events, more than ever. We started off behind closed doors with Championship League Pool and the World Pool Masters, the World Cup, and then that World Championship. The US Open was brilliant. Now the Mosconi Cup, but I know you never stop and you've got huge plans for next year. Can you just tease us a little bit?
I think every year should always be bigger than the one before, and I think that's the theme that we're kind of going with in Matchroom Multisport. That yeah, we were 6 events this year, but why not raise that to potentially 8 next year as well? So We have to still keep working on the events that we have, and just something like the World Pool Masters. That's, you know, it's a fantastic event, and we shouldn't neglect our shows like that. But I think the idea is to start working on the open events more, to start showing the world that we're committed. We're here for the bigger fielded events. We don't just do one table anymore. We do multi-table because that's what we're getting good at. So that's the direction we're going in. If there's a cheeky Reyes Cup in a couple of years' time, then so be it. But we're focused on the multi-table events. We've got some big announcements coming just before the Mosconi Cup, which we're all very excited about. And the aim is to start working with other promoters. You know, we should be building 9-ball. That's the aim. And we should be working with everyone else in the billiards and the pool world to commercialise 9-ball. The problem that we're having at the moment, and I keep repeating it over and over again, is that you go to these big broadcasters, big sponsors, and they go, "What's pool?" They go, "What?" And the issue that we have is that it's just not known up with the top brands, and it's just not professionalised, it's not commercialised. So in order to start, we need to get 9-ball out. We need to expose it. We need to it's the exciting discipline of the sport. Not saying, you know, no disrespect to 8-ball, 10-ball, one pocket. There's millions of them. I mean, how many disciplines there are? But the issue is that there's so many. And what we need to do is we need to get 9-ball, and we need to centralise that. We've already proven that it's the most commercial discipline of the sport. It's the most entertaining, it's the most exciting, and it's the one that draws the casual fans in. And our growth on social media, our growth in television viewing figures is proving that these Matchroom events, they are growing this sport, and we need to get more 9-ball on the box. So that's what we're aiming to do. We need to work with the players a little bit more. We need to educate them on how they conduct themselves and grow on these fantastic characters that we've got. I mean, bringing Elle Strickland back for the Mosconi Cup. What more could you want to end 2021? We were going through a global pandemic where events weren't even happening, and we come out the doors with more. What other promoter does that? But what I would like to suggest, and what I'd like to say to all of the other promoters that are out there, get in touch with us, because we can't do this all on our own, and we also don't want to do this on our own. We know, and we have seen, that we all need to come together, and we all need to work together to grow this sport. We can't just keep going, adding an event each year, because we're not going to get there until 20 years' time, and we're all going to be gone off and retired. We need to get everyone together, working together, so we can push something that is taken the other promoters or companies or tours years and years to accomplish. So let's work together now. And the best thing is, let's get both men and women involved. I'm fed up of this separate men rankings and women's rankings and separate events. They should be coming together and competing against one another. It was fantastic to see the European Championships last week or earlier this week. It was great to see, you know, Margaret, she won the Women's Championship, and Veronica came second, who performed really well at our World Championship. Why they got separate events? They should be competing against one another, because it's just setting them up for failure in a couple of years' time. Should all be competing against one another, building your experience, building the rankings. Look at Kelly Fisher at Championship League Pool. She just damaged them. And they should be using that to their advantage. So let's get everyone together. Let's hit 2022 with a bang. There's going to be some big news coming, and yeah, we're really, really excited.
And speaking of bringing the men and the women together, something which I know you've touched on a little bit on social media, and we've not announced fully yet, but stay tuned, it's coming very soon, right before the Mosconi Cup. We're bringing the women in as well, doing a women's showcase match. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Oh gosh, yeah, so we always have our warm-up match. I think last year we did a training match because obviously we're behind closed doors, and trying to get another team in to do that would have been logistically a nightmare. But for the last 2 years prior, we've done our, it's a warm-up match for kind of, well, let's be honest about it. It was a warm-up match for Team USA. And we were trying to get them ready for the Mosconi Cup. So now let's turn it around. Let's get Team Europe with 2 women on, and let's get Team USA with 2 women on. We'll still have our Mosconi Cup players within. Alex Laley will coach Team Europe and Jeremy Jones will coach Team USA. And it's going to be one day of these matches. Basically, I don't know what the race to, you know what the race to.
Race to 5, exactly like Mosconi Cup.
Race to 5, and it's just going to be our one day package where we're going to see a Mosconi version of the for women. But I don't want everyone to get all excited that, yeah, in a year's time we're going to have a women's Mosconi Cup. No, forget that. Get that out of your brain. Couple of years' time, we'll have a rankings. So, yes, Kelly Fisher is going to X, Y, and Z events. Could she get into the Mosconi Cup team? Team USA, you can see the American players coming through. Could they get onto the Mosconi Cup? So this isn't to promote a women's only Mosconi Cup event. No, it's not going to happen. Let's focus on growing the Mosconi Cup, that event. Let's open it up to both men and women. Let's see what this day is going to bring us. We've got Kelly Fisher and Christina to catch for Team Europe, and we've got April Larson and Jennifer Barata for Team USA. Let's see what happens.
We're really excited for that. It's going to be the Friday just before the Mosconi Cup. We'll have full news on that on our social media very soon. And Karl, listen to that. It sounds like you get a day off for that one as well.
I'm sure I'll be doing
No, you're
some.
commentating.
I thought I was going to bring you tea or coffee, but I'll take the commentating. That'd be good fun. It's always good to see the ladies play. And as Emily said, this year, you know, we've seen some of the ladies beat the men. Yasmin had a good run as well at the World Championships. And, you know, I'm all for that. There's a lot of good lady pool players out there.
Absolutely. Well, it's going to be part of a packed Mosconi Cup build-up week. Full schedule for that coming soon. December is going to be a big one. We can't wait. Europe versus USA at Ali Pali for the Mosconi Cup. We'll see you there.